slow down. Oh my god.
Hey everyone, it's Laura and welcome to another video. I've been meaning to make this video, but I just never got around to doing it. Now's the perfect time because we're all stuck at home and all you pre-dentals have all this time to work on your apps. I applied to dental school in 2016, which was
4 years ago.
This video is not going to be a step-by-step how to apply because I believe that you should also be doing your own research as well. It's more of accumulation of my top tips that I found useful when I was applying. Tip number 1 is to do your research on dental schools. And I recommend doing this early on in your pre-dental career, just so that you have an idea of what course requirements are for different schools that you're interested in so that you can make sure to take those courses. Also compare different dental school stats like GPA, DAT score, just overall their requirements to see if it's worth your time to apply to that school. When you are looking for dental schools to apply to, make sure that you're looking at reach schools but also safety schools, so you want to have a nice variety. A resource that I recommend using is the American Dental Education Association Guidebook to Dental Schools. I found this guidebook useful because it has all of the US dental schools with a 2-page profile of each school, including fast facts, general information, average GPA, and DAT scores. It just gives you a really nice summary of each dental school and then you can narrow it down from there. I will leave the link in the description box below. Not sponsored, I just recommend using it. And once you're done checking out all the different dental programs, I recommend narrowing it down to around 10 to 15 schools to apply to. Tip number 2 is to take the DAT. I recommend taking the DAT before you start your apps, just so that you know your score ahead of time. If you do need to retake it, then you have the extra time to. I've got a video covering how I studied for the DAT and the resources that I recommend using, so I will link that in the description box below. I know it's kind of difficult to take the DAT right now because all of the testing centers are closed, but if you haven't taken it yet, keep studying hard. Take it as soon as you can once the testing centers do open up again, and hopefully with all that studying, you'll be able to submit your score the first time around. Tip number 3 is to update your resume or CV to keep track of all of your experiences and activities. You're not going to officially submit a resume or CV into your application because you have to enter it all manually into their boxes, but it's nice to already have a resume or CV that lists everything in chronological order and has all of the details, because when you are ready to start the application, all you need to do is copy and paste and everything's already there so you don't forget anything. Tip number 4 is to ask for letters of recommendation as soon as you can. This relates to tip number 1. When you're looking at the different dental schools, make sure to look at their letter of recommendation requirements as well, because different schools have different requirements. Most schools require letters of rec from 2 different science professors and 1 dentist. I think some schools might also require 1 non-science professor, and if you did research, you could probably get a strong letter of recommendation from your research PI. For my own letters of rec, I asked 2 different biology professors and the dentist that I was working for at the time. And when you're asking for these letters of rec, make sure that you're asking professors that you have actually built a connection and relationship with if you want a strong letter. For example, if you're very engaged in that professor's classes, or if you went to their office hours quite often and they actually got to know you, those are good professors to ask because they know you on a more personal level and can write about your strengths more confidently. Also, make sure to thank whoever is writing you a letter of recommendation with at least a thank you card. What I did is I wrote personal thank you cards. I also hand painted a tooth fairy on a little 8x8 canvas and gave that to them as a thank you gift. Tip number 5 is to work on your personal statement as soon as you can and try to get it finalized before apps open. You could even start working on your personal statement a year before the cycle opens, because it's gonna take you a lot of drafts. It took me, I think, a good 4 to 5 completely new drafts before I finally found an outline that I liked and stuck with. Ask multiple people to read and edit your personal statement. I gave mine to my friends to edit. One of my best friends is an English major, so I really trust her edits, and then my other best friend was pre-med at the time, so he was going through the same thing as well, and I knew that his feedback would be very helpful. You should also make sure to use your university or college's writing center. This is a free resource most of the time, I believe, at least at my college it was. They know the best feedback to give you for writing personal statements because they see literally hundreds of them probably, and their job is to edit writing, which is what you need. Tip number 6 is to know application dates and deadlines. For this upcoming cycle, May 12th is when the ADEA AdSAS application opens. AdSAS is the Associated American Dental School Application Service,
aka
dental application portal that everyone uses in the US to apply for dental school. And June 2nd is the first day to submit your application. Tip number 7 is to submit your transcripts ASAP. On the date the application opens, the first thing you should do is go to the transcript section. Fill out the transcript request form because the transcript retrieval process takes forever, and probably especially during this time when the schools are working from home. You want to try to get your transcripts in from all of the institutions that you went to school. The reason that everyone recommends getting your transcripts in as soon as possible is because it's not reliant on you, it is reliant on the school and the registrar to submit your official transcripts to ADSAS. I think it took at least 4 weeks for mine to get uploaded into my application, so you definitely want to get on that as soon as possible. Tip number 8 is to review your application thoroughly before submitting it. This sounds like common sense, but I don't know, sometimes if you're in a rush and you're just so happy that you got it over with, you might just hit submit. Just to be safe, make sure to look over everything thoroughly before you submit it. Maybe ask your friend to look over your application just because it's a new set of eyes that hasn't looked over the application over and over and over. Tip number 9 is to apply early. Dental applications in the US are on a rolling basis, and so it's best to get your dental apps in as soon as you can. Latest I recommend submitting would be the end of July, but that is just my personal preference, and that's the deadline that I set for myself. And don't let that deter you from submitting your application if you've already passed July or August, but it just means that you might have a lower chance of getting secondaries or an interview. Tip number 10, work on secondaries as soon as you can. So after you submit the initial ADSAS application, individual dental schools, if they liked your primary application, are going to send you secondaries with more supplemental questions requiring more information. Make sure all of your responses are well written, and even have your friends and the writing center look over it again just to be sure. So those are my top tips for applying to dental school. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below if you're applying this cycle. And of course, if you're not subscribed to my channel already, please do for more dental school related videos. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.